Azure Communication Services offers several different key features that can be used in appointment apps. In this video, I'm going to walk you through one of those, which is audio-video calling from a custom app into a Microsoft Teams app. Now, this can be used in many scenarios. You could have a patient-doctor scenario, or maybe a customer talking to a lawyer. Customer needs help setting up something with customer service, and the list goes on and on and on. Let's start things off with a quick demo. I'm going to show you a custom application that can call into a Microsoft Teams meeting. And then from there, I'll show you a little bit of the code that's used to actually enable this audio-video calling scenario for appointments. So you can see the app on the left here. As the customer goes there, it's going to dynamically set up an appointment. And then on the right, this is where the doctor, the lawyer, the customer service rep, whoever it is, could join. You'll notice that an appointment is going to show up here. And in this case, it's customer service. So they're going to go ahead and join the call. Now on the left, the customer can pick their camera. They can go in and pick what sound they'd like, speakers, those type of things. In this case, I'll turn on my camera here. And what'll happen is I can now hit start call and then of course be admitted into this Microsoft Teams meeting. So you're going to see that here. Now the customer service rep is going to join. They're going to admit me into the lobby. In this case, I happen to be the customer service rep and I happen to be the customer, but you'll see an example of how these two work together. So now that you've seen the appointment demo and how a user could actually call into a Microsoft Teams meeting, let's talk about how Azure Communication Services makes this possible. So the good news is there's not a lot of code you'd have to write on the client side. You'll notice right here, I have something called a call composite, and that's exactly what you saw earlier when the user actually went into the custom app and then made that call into the Microsoft Teams meeting. The call composite is basically an aggregator, and it has the video capabilities, picking the mic, picking your video, all of that type of functionality built into it. Now, of course, it needs to know where to call, so you'll notice that we have an adapter here, and something called a call adapter is assigned to this. So if we have a call adapter, we want to go ahead and show that functionality to the user, and then let them initiate that call into Microsoft Teams. Now, there's four main things we need to make this happen. We need a user and a token. We need a Microsoft Teams meeting link. And then we probably need a display name. In this case, I just hard-coded it to guest, but of course, if this was a logged-in user, you could have their name that's used, or if it's not a logged-in user scenario, like a customer service scenario where they're calling in to get help, maybe you just have guest. This is actually what's going to show in the Microsoft Teams meeting, though. Now, to get those, we do need a little bit of server-side functionality. So if I jump on down, you're going to notice that we make two fetch calls here. Now, one of these is to get the ACS user and the token. Now, in this particular case, I'm using an environment variable to grab a URL, and this is a URL for an Azure function. Now, I won't go through all of that in this particular video, but in my server, either C# or TypeScript folders, you'll notice I have an ACS token function. And inside of there, this is where we're going to use Azure Communication Services to say, go give me the connection string. This is an environment variable again. And then let's use that to actually get a user and a token so that this user can call into the Microsoft Teams meeting. So that's kind of the first step. Now, in addition to getting the user and the token, we also need to come in and get the Teams meeting link. Now, this is another fetch call back into Azure Functions. And if we come down into our function here, you're going to notice we have one for Teams meeting. Now, this Azure function actually calls into a create new meeting function. And this is using Microsoft Graph to say, hey, we know the user, and this would be, again, a lawyer, a doctor, a help desk person. We know the user that we'd like to have them meet up with. Let's go ahead and dynamically create that meeting for us. And so this will go in and use Microsoft Graph, and then it's going to return the join URL. Now, this is the Teams meeting link. So what we're going to do, though, is go fetch that, get that link, And then we're just going to set this using, in this case, React functionality to assign the data. Now, all of that is put together into this call composite adapter. So it's going to have those four things. It's going to have what is the user's actual name, in this case, guest. What's the user ID and token that ACS returned from that Azure function call I mentioned earlier? And what is the team's URL? And if I scroll up, you'll actually see that functionality aggregated right here. So you can see we create this call adapter args. We give it that user ID, display name, credential is the token, and then we have the locator, which is the team's meeting link. So we have a full tutorial that walks you through doing this, and there'll be a link here that you can see in the bottom. Feel free to check that out if you'd like more information, but this is a great way to add appointment functionality into your custom apps.